Hello!
Hello!
Welcome everybody to day 4 of Learn to Cook to Impress a Date. And, we timed it just perfectly because our oven just finished preheating. And so we're ready to go and get started. So Danielle, what are we doing this week?
So this week we have been learning something new every day.
Every day. So with this Learn to Cook mouthful. With Learn to Cook to Impress a Date, this week is all about teaching you guys how you can cook so you can impress a date. And, we thought after going through Valentine's Day 2022, I don't know how it was for you guys, but if you learn how to cook, it's going to make every Valentine's Day, and honestly, pretty much most days in the future.
Every day that you need to eat something.
Much better, yes. And so, we're doing this week-long thing as a way to get you guys inspired, give you guys a lot of free stuff so you can learn a lot before you even have to pull out your wallet, but then also let you guys know that we have a whole course so you can learn even more about this stuff. It's called Kickstart Your Kitchen. You can go to kickstartyourkitchen.com. Normally it's $99, but for this week's special, we're putting it down to $69. Why $69, Danielle?
Giggity.
Giggity, indeed. And also because in the spirit of love, we're going to have some sex food bonus thing. We still need to brainstorm that name.
Yep.
So anyways, that is Kickstart Your Kitchen. If you guys want to check it out, you can level up your cooking game regardless if you've been cooking for decades or you've never been cooked ever before.
I've never been cooked.
So for today, day 4, right? So let's walk through what we did so far up to this. Day 1, Monday, what did we do?
Yeah, so Monday we made lemon drop martinis, and then on Tuesday, it was my favorite, we made queso, and yesterday we made salad and learned about some knife skills.
Yes, and along the way, kind of going in line with Kickstart Your Kitchen, has 4 major milestones. We have prep your setup, plan and shop, cook your food, and clean up and storage. So what we've done is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now today we'll be going over that 4th milestone. And then tomorrow is what everything kind of culminates up to. What do we got going on tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're going to do a live, put all the elements of the meal together and cook a 3-course meal live tomorrow.
Yes, and we're going to have the grocery list so you guys can buy that if you want, and you can cook right along with us. And if you're with us live, hello, please say hello in the chat. And if you're here from the future, please say hello in the comments as well. And the nice thing about this whole series is you could do this in one night every weekday, just like we did, or you can do it at your own pace because it's recorded and you guys will have this forever. Without further ado, let's jump in today and make our drink for the day. What do we got here?
So we're going to make Moscow Mules, which normally were made with vodka, but we still haven't gone to the liquor store since we didn't have vodka on Monday night. So we're going to make our Moscow Mules with gin. So I guess we're going to call it a London Mule.
Yeah.
Because this is Beefeater Gin from London. So
Beefeater gin from London, eh?
there we go.
Oh, here we go. So,
Oh, yeah.
we've got a new fancy upgraded hand camera so we can get more technology. So, Danielle, what goes into a Moscow Mule?
So, for Moscow Mule, you normally have your vodka. So for our London Mule, we will have our gin, 1 shot, or should we do doubles? Let's do one. We'll do one.
One. Because at this rate, it's not like I've already had a beer over here.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to both Shiner. We've got a lovely Shiner seasonal beer, Shiner Strawberry Blonde. If you've never heard of Shiner before, it's made in Shiner, Texas. Oh, yeah. So it's really good. Since 1909. Ooh. Whoa. Can it go that close? It looks like it can. And then I have that in my nice Avery Brewing koozie that we got when we were visiting there last July. So shout out to Avery Brewing and as well to Shiner. All right. So we've got our vodka in here. Nope. Gin. But what's next?
Then we do half a lime per drink.
So, real quick, what I've done before Danielle even got here was I took these limes, I washed them off, and then I take it on the counter here, and I kind of press down with my hand like this, and I push and I roll it. And I'm pushing pressure about, I don't know, how would you describe this? It's like a good massage, someone's back massage. So you're like pushing pretty decently, because what's happening is you're gonna actually get a bunch of the essential oils and juices that will come to the surface, and it also helps break down some of the cell membranes on the inside, i.e. you get more juice. That's the main point. You get more juice.
Oh, rinse off our citrus squeezer.
So now we've got the lime, the citrus squeezer, we've got the gin, and what we also have here is some ginger beer. And with the ginger beer, I'll just go ahead and pour it in. Do you measure it, or do you just kind of toss it in whatever you like?
I usually wait till after I add the ice, actually, because I fill it up with ice, and then, yeah, then I just fill up the rest with ginger beer.
Yeah, and so what we've got here, oh, whoops, wrong camera button. Oh, no. Ooh, new setup, learning it out, here we go. Is we've got Gosling's ginger beer. And so the big thing about ginger beer is that, just like regular beer, it varies in flavor. So if you have one that you don't really like, try a different one. Unfortunately, there's one called Reed's, and I wish I loved it, but it's not my favorite one. And it's kind of a shame, because I would love to love Reed's. It's good. Just in my Moscow Mule, I prefer this one, which is Gosling's. Got a seal on it, kind of like Ryan Gosling, if it helps you remember.
Gosling's has always been our favorite ginger beer, and I'm just now realizing I actually had a dream with a sea lion in it this week.
Oh, yeah?
When I got Gosling's beer and saw it at Walmart. So, you know?
I like it. I like it.
My dreams were telling me to get Gosling's this week, basically.
I like it. So we've got gin in here, a shot in each of them. We've got half a lime in all three of them now?
Nope,
or
2 out of 3.
2 out of
so
3.
far.
And then I'm going to grab the ice. In case you didn't see, we'll bring the hand cam back for this one. In case you didn't see these special mugs here, these are they're basically meant for Moscow Mules. They're just called a copper mug. If you type in copper mug on, well, actually you don't need to type in anything, because we're going to provide you guys links. But we have here the traditional copper ones, and then of course Danielle's here are nice iridescent color. And guess what? Where we got these? Danielle, tell them where we got these.
Wally World. I think my mom actually got those for us. So Walmart has all my favorite rainbow bar utensils and silverware, wine glasses, everything rainbow.
Yeah, shout out Walmart here. You can see we got a Tom
all my
set.
bar tools.
We got a big bar spoon. And we also have a full set of silverware as well.
Yep.
Alright, so the reason that we have these metal cups is because they get really, really cold on the outside. And they conduct the heat really well. Well, the cold, really. And it helps the drink stay nice and cold. They will sweat, though, so make sure to use a coaster if you care about whatever you're putting it on. Alright, so now we have the ginger beer.
Yep.
And do you like to measure, or you just top it off?
Well, maybe not all the way to the top. Here, I'll just
You do it. And you can see that Danielle had left the half limes in here, but you also might want to add a little bit of a garnish to make it a little bit more special. And we have a whole section on this in the course, but for today we'll just keep it really simple and just do a wedge. And actually, this way, you can see how these pieces of lime are kind of pulling apart. This way is actually not the best way to cut it for this type of garnish, because it doesn't hold up as well. But that's okay. We'll still make it work. the most beautiful garnish in the world?
Yeah, I think it looks better with just the lime in there.
But that's the beauty of it. That's when you're trying out the garnishes. You know, sometimes you just try it out and you're like, doesn't look that great.
Yep.
Take it out. It's just like when we didn't have vodka. Well, we'll just use gin instead. Did you give those a stir yet?
No.
So, another big tip. Just rinse your bar stuff right after you use it. Then you don't have to worry about it cleaning it later. Really big about cleaning as you go.
Okay, ready.
All right. Shall we cheers?
Cheers.
Cheers. Happy week.
Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday. I like it. And
Boop boop.
the thing about ginger beer is, if you ever had ginger ale, it's kind of like that, but it's got a little bit more of a gingery flavor. And then you add a little bit of the vodka or the gin and the lime. It just kind of brightens it up a little bit. It's a really, really refreshing drink. I think it's good year-round, but especially on a hot day or something like that, it's really nice.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got the drink down. Next, okay, a big thing about cooking is timing. And that's one thing you should know when you get started. If you've never been cooking before, it's okay. Don't worry about getting everything to come out at the right time. That's something that can take time and effort to get right, and just practice, right? But also the big thing is about thinking ahead. And we actually have a calculator on our website called the Cook Time Calculator, where you can put in the things you're cooking and where you're cooking them, and you can basically plan it out and say, oh, well, I should start the veggies at this time, and then I can start the meat at this time. That way you're going to increase your odds of it all coming out at the right time. And we've got plenty of other tips around that too in the course. But for today, the thing that's going to take the longest is roasting some veggies. So Danielle, what you got over there?
So right now we have carrots, which we showed how to cut up in a couple of different ways last night. So I already went ahead and prepped those. And then we also have parsnips, which are in the same family as carrots, but they're a little different. And I've actually never cooked with parsnips before, so we will see how we like them. But my thought was to kind of cut them up similarly to the carrots. So I'll show you from start on my next one. Or well, let's just go ahead and do that. So here's what the parsnip looks like. So it's very carroty.
Yeah, it's kind of like a carrot, but we think it might be a little earthier.
But more elder wandy.
Nice Harry Potter reference there. And so what Danielle's doing is she's just going to cut off the
Top
root
and the bottom.
and the tip. And then you're going to peel it as well.
Yep.
Because
so with carrots, I don't peel them. You don't have to peel them. With parsnips, I asked Asmexa.
Echo.
However, you don't activate the lady. And she said you must remove the parsnip skin before you have them. So, we will peel the parsnip.
Yeah, which is another really good tip. If you guys have any smart speakers at home, whether it be a Google Home, an Amazon Echo, whatever the Apple one's called, a HomePod, or Google Home, I think I already said that one. But if you have any of those, they're so good for helping you in the kitchen. You can set a timer, and you can even give it a label. So you could say, hey, put 15-minute timer on for carrots, and then you could say put a 20-minute timer on for the meat or whatnot. And so then when the timer goes off, you know exactly what it is. And in my opinion, more importantly, you can turn it off with your voice instead of having to use like the stove or the microwave timer, which is like beep, 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 and you're all the way across the room. You're like, oh my gosh, it's so annoying, please stop. Oh, well, if you use your voice assistant, it can help. And it is also really good at like conversions and things like that. If you say, oh, how many ounces is this? Or how many grams is that? So one thing that Danielle did not do today, but we did on previous days, was we had a little bit of a bowl nearby for our scraps. But we've moved our trash can over there, so it's nice and close, so it's easy to get them to the trash. Oh, and we also wanted to point out what our little snacks are here. We'll bring the hand cam in for this. And we'll go ahead and point out that this has been sitting now for a while, so it does not look nearly as appetizing. But what we've got here is some queso that we made. When do we make this queso, Danielle? Tuesday. So on day 2 of Learn to Cook to Impress a Date, we did that. And then we also have these tortillas, which we showed on that day as well, where they're raw, but you cook them here. And it takes like basically less than a minute. You just put them on the skillet real quick, eat them up with some of this delicious queso, and you're gonna thank us. Because there's veggies in there. You know, there's peppers, there's onions. It's basically good for you.
Basically. So I'm making them into like little planky things. I don't know how you describe these. It's kind of like a thick julienne. I don't know.
I like thick planky things. And we have a new camera set up today, so I'm still figuring out which ones are which.
Are you gonna start marinating the salmon?
Yeah, let's do that. So, in the sink here, so here's another fun little adaptation for you guys. So, on Monday, we didn't have vodka when we were making our, what were we making on Monday? The drink.
Lemon drop.
When we were making our lemon drop, so we adapted. We used rum. Yesterday, on Tuesday, we were making queso, and we got a new type of cheese just to try it out. Because we're willing to take risks like that because we know that the framework and the method is so good. That's a really big thing with Kickstart Your Kitchen and with Helpful for Life as a whole. We don't teach you guys just the recipes. We teach you the methodology and the framework so you guys can vary it however you want. You can add whatever things you want to have. You can take things out that you don't want. You can add more of, less of, all that type of stuff. So the point is we don't worry about having all of our stuff perfectly lined up because we know we can figure it out. And that's a confidence that we want to help instill in you guys as you start to cook or continue to cook, because cooking is a key to the soul. And if you haven't really had the desire to cook before, it's probably because you just haven't really experienced the power of food, because food is an amazing thing. It can take you back. You can get real nostalgic about things. It can help bring people together. Anyways, that's enough soapbox for one day. So today we were gonna make salmon, and we're like, oh, well, we always have salmon in our freezer. It's one of our staples, which is something we talked about on Tuesday when we stocked our pantry, our fridge, and our freezer. We talked about the staples that we put in there. And so today we went and got a frozen salmon out, and we thought we had more, but we just had one. So today we're gonna make a lonely one salmon fillet for you guys so you can see what it's like. But as we also mentioned in the description, you can vary this up to be whatever you want. We actually, right here, we've got us some leftover rotisserie chicken. And that's because earlier today, Danielle made an amazing chicken pot pie, which we'll be sharing with you guys. If the link's not already here, we're not sharing it live, but we'll add it soon after because, oh man, that was good. And we've got some leftover rotisserie chicken, so we can throw that into our sauce later as well to help supplement the salmon. Reusing the food that you made earlier in the week is another huge thing we're all about. If you don't like leftovers, you're just not doing them right. So, all right, so we've got our roasted veggies cut up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's switch on back to our hand cam. There we go. All right, so Danielle, why do you like to roast veggies?
Basically it's just the tastiest way I've found to consume veggies. And it's so simple. You put it on somewhere between 400 to 450. It's really not that important. Doesn't have to be exact. And then you toss your veggies in olive oil and add salt and pepper. You can add some herbs or additional seasoning if you want to. But just olive oil, salt, pepper is good for the vast majority of veggies. And then roast them maybe for like 10 to 15 minutes at a time. Check them, stir them, and then once they've gotten browned and roasted to your liking, take them out. Usually somewhere around 30 to 40 minutes for these like hardier root vegetables, and then for like Brussels sprouts or asparagus, maybe closer to 20 minutes. So
yeah, and so as she seasons that, I'm gonna move this cutting board out of the way because another big tip is to clean as you go. That makes cooking so much easier when you don't have to worry about all the cleaning you're gonna have to do at the end. So I'll clean that up as she starts to season the vegetables. But what she has here is olive oil, salt, pepper, and a little bit of cayenne, because like just a little bit of heat. You can add some other things too if you like. But what I've done is I've just gone ahead and put all these things on this little tray here, so she could have it all in one spot. We just grabbed it. And what this is called is something called mise en place, which is a French word for everything in its place. And we talk more about it in the course, but the whole idea is you do a little bit of prep work before you think about the things you're gonna need while you're cooking. You get them all in one spot, so then when you're cooking, it's less anxiety. It's just easier, it's chill, you're hanging out, you grab what you need, you put it on, and then you take it away. So, mise en place, you should check it out. All right, so she's got olive oil, salt, pepper. I'm gonna, follow my sword here and make sure to drink some of this drink.
Yeah, don't let it get too watered down now.
Yeah, and while I'm having this drink, I want to make sure to tell you guys, again, I don't want to beat it into the bush. No, that's not the phrase. I don't want to beat a dead horse. But you guys should get Kickstart Your Kitchen. Go check it out, kickstartyourkitchen.com. $69 only to learn to cook for the rest of your life. Or you can pay as little $10 a month if that big price up front, even though it's not that big, let's be real, if it gets you scared or you can't pull that out right now, $10 a month. We're going to save you that in grocery bills, takeout, fast food. Unless you're going to have like a little dinky meal these days at like McDonald's or something, you're spending like basically $10 anyways. So if you just do one meal less out, maybe two, maybe three if you're like really frugal, but you can eat so much better. It's tastier, it's better for you. Go buy the course. All right, enough of sales mode. Let me get you a spatula.
Gracias.
So you might notice here that although they're not all perfectly the same, as Danielle cut these up, she made them roughly the same size. And the reason she did that is because pieces that are
homogeneity.
Homogeneity, I like it. Nice little callback to yesterday. So yesterday we talked about heterogeneity and homogeneity, so you have to go see what that is to find out. But for today, we've got these pieces that are all pretty much the same size, which means they'll cook at roughly the same rate, which means that you won't have some that are really hard and crunchy while other ones are all blackened. So she's got those all tossed. She just used a spatula. But another pro tip for you, your hands are often the best tool for all sorts of things. So don't be afraid to just get your hands in there and swish it all around, get those seasonings and oil everywhere. And then one other thing she did is she shook it to be in a flat layer. So that way it's all nice on the pan. We'll throw that in the oven once you got set on 420. And then what we'll do is probably about halfway through, we'll flip them over to make sure to get that caramelization, that Maillard reaction, which are two fancy words for the browning. We tell you more about what those words mean in the course as well. So she's working on that. Let me grab the salmon. Let me move this cutting board into our sink. And
Drink.
1 second. Hear a sound issue. All right, I think we're good. I fixed that. All right, so I'll get us something to marinate that in.
Perfect. And I'll get out what we're marinating it in.
Cool, so marinating bowl. So, as you can see, we didn't have our entire meal all ready to go, but that's fine too. Any little small steps you do to make it easier are nice, but as long as you're hanging out, you're relaxing, like it doesn't need to be a tense, stressful thing. I think that's a thing a lot of people think when it comes to cooking, that's gotta be all crazy just because you see some of the way the people around you cook. There are a lot of different ways to cook, and if you've ever seen it on TV, those intense competitions and stuff like that, cooking can be chill, cooking can be meditative. I mean, did you resonate with that at all?
Yeah, just earlier we were making some videos of the chicken pot pie, and I find cooking very meditative and relaxing. So I'm gonna get the scissors to open this.
All right, so we got a nice big clear bowl here. Oh, I guess you need to chop that up still, huh?
Yeah.
Well, actually, instead of that,
Oh, okay.
so
Perfect.
here's another tip for you guys. So right here, we just pulled this out of our freezer, and so this is called crushed garlic. The brand is Dorot, D-O-R-O-T, Dorot Gardens, or Dorot, I don't know how they say it. But what we have here, it's kind of like a pill pack you'd get at, pharmacy or whatnot. But each of these is crushed garlic. And so each cube is a garlic clove. And so instead of us having to cut up the garlic, we're going to just use this. And what's that, Danielle, you got there?
Ginger, but I think this will be for the sauce, not the marinade.
But since we're talking about prepped ingredients, this is just a puree of ginger. So again, one of the nice things is you can use this if you're out of your staples and you just don't have or maybe you don't have the time, or you just didn't want to do the dirty. If you didn't want to dirty a cutting board, all these things are ways to make your cooking easier and more flavorful. And both of these things are a couple bucks. We'll include links, and you can also get them from the grocery store. So yeah, we got these from,
Walmart.
Hey, let's go. Walmart, we're going to be calling you. We're going to get a sponsorship.
You get everything from Walmart.
Yeah, so a big key to the marinade for today is ginger, garlic, soy, honey, salt.
Not the marinade.
Not the marinade. The sauce. All right, what's going in the marinade?
I think just garlic, soy, and salt and pepper.
All right, and the little directions on here, they say keep frozen until ready to use. So we just keep ours in our drawer or our door, and then it says press on cube from back to pop out. Then it says simply cook and enjoy. So just pop it out just like it would a pill. Except it smells delicious, unlike pills. And then I like to kind of push it back down in. Oh, look, we got a little bit there. You want to get us a spoon? Grab a spoon. Or a whisk or something. Take it a whisk behind you.
Nope.
Or there.
Oh my gosh, too many options.
Yeah. Take that. Just scraping off this little extra. Sometimes you just gotta use your finger, like I said. All right, and I'll put that up. So what else you putting in there?
Soy sauce. And
Well, again, since I was in there, there's also basil as another one that's really good. Oh, and actually a pro tip from yesterday, when we showed off our large ice cubes that we used in our cocktail yesterday, which was a old fashioned.
Yep.
We made old fashioned yesterday. We used a big ice cube. And we also talked about how you can use those silicone ice containers to freeze things like chopped herbs, lemon juice, orange juice, things like that. So the freezer can be very powerful.
Honey. And salt and pepper.
Throwing garlic on the ground. So what Danielle's making here is what's called a marinade. And if you haven't heard of a marinade before, it's basically just a fancy way of saying some sort of sauce, liquid, seasoning that you're putting on. Usually it's a protein, but you can also marinate vegetables as well. And what you do is you just get the mixture of a liquid, some spices. In this case, we added garlic. Sometimes you can also add herbs and things like that. And you put it on in a bowl or in a Ziploc bag or something like that, and you coat whatever it is you're trying to marinate. In this case, we're marinating the salmon. And as she does that, we're gonna put the salmon in there, and ideally you let it soak in there for like 20 minutes or so. With fish, you don't wanna go much more than overnight because it can be a little more delicate. But with other meats, you can let them marinate even longer. So yeah, you got that nice and dissolved in there?
I think so. I think we might need a smaller bowl to marinate it.
Yeah,
since it's
I think
super flat.
Well, let's just use a Ziploc bag.
Okie doke.
So I like using Ziploc bags for marinades. Generally, I try and use bowls so I don't use single-use plastic, but every now and then it's okay, just to be in moderation. So we'll cut open that salmon, we'll put it in here, and the reason I like plastic bags for marinades is because you can squish it around. You can use your hands on the outside without getting them dirty, and even like halfway through if you want to, you can squish it around some more, flip it over, make sure everything gets nice and coated in that juicy, delicious marinade. So one thing that marinades do is using the salt. In this case, we're not going to add extra salt because soy sauce is very salty itself. But that salt is actually going to penetrate into the salmon, and it's going to make it more tender, and it's going to make it more delicious. And it's going to help it stay more moist. It's going to be amazing.
The bag.
Oh yeah, bag. And so when you only have the one little sad piece of salmon, you can use a little bag like this. Alright, why don't you grab a spatula?
I have salmon hands.
Oh, not the salmon hands. So, that's okay because what I have down here below all of this is a black mat. And this is the thing that we've got. We originally got it as we were working with our bar cart over here. Oh wait, hold on. Lincoln needs to make an appearance. So this is our dog Lincoln. You know, he's the real famous one here. So he's a little busy right now, as you can see. But we like to drink a lot of drinks and cocktails and stuff like that. So we have a little bar cart. And as we were doing that bar cart, we decided to get one of these bar mats, which is basically just a rubbery plastic mat. So you make all your drinks on top of it, and then anything you spill, it falls into the mat and not all over your counter. And then at the end of the night or week or whenever it gets really messy, you just dump it out, you clean it off, and then you're good to go. So you don't have to worry about things like bowls dripping. So one other thing we talk about in the course is that these things are both called spatulas, and we talk about a whole bunch of different other kinds too. But this one is really nice because it's made of this silicone material and it rubs right up against the side of the bowl. Will you hold that bag open for me, baby? And then what you can do is you can get really, really clean scrapes. Oh yeah. That way you don't lose all that seasoning. Because that's the whole point, right? So originally we could have just done this straight into the Ziploc bag, but we didn't think about it. So you adapt. And some people are like, oh, you dirtied the whole other dish, oh my gosh. Well, let me tell you, that's why we have this thing. It's called a robot. It does our washing for us. It's right here. And as we talked about cleanup and storage in the course, we're going to talk a whole bunch more about it. Kickstartyourkitchen.com, shameless. But what the nice thing is you run this thing, we run ours almost every day. And you're like, oh my gosh, read the water. Guess what? It uses like 4 gallons of water, whereas your sinks, your showers, those all use about 2 per minute. Every time you flush the toilet, I think it's like 1.25 or something like that. You're telling me it's not worth 4 toilet flushes to wash a whole load of dishes? And it's like, oh, Reed, I gotta put up the dishes. Oh, it's such a pain. Well, just know where your stuff goes, and then you take all the thinking out of it. And if you just do it every day, it's something you do. It's not a thing that you have to do. It's just something you do. All right, Danielle, how's that marinade looking?
Wonderful.
What you laughing at?
The salmon's falling apart.
Oh, good. That's okay.
It's okay.
All right, so we have our salmon marinating here. We've got our roasted roots are going on in the oven. What all is in there again?
Carrots, parsnips, olive oil, salt, pepper, cayenne.
So we've got carrots, parsnips, and... Oh, we forgot. Oh, well, that's okay. One of the other things we were going to potentially roast was some of the things we had left over from earlier this week. Earlier this week, we had matchsticked Julianne some turnips. Yeah, so we had these turnips here, and we had basically just matchsticked them, and we were going to roast some of those too, but we forgot. That's okay. We'll save these for another day. What did we cut these up for in the first place, do you know?
Pickling.
Ah, yes. I don't know where they went. Okay, there. Yeah, so we made some. Here we made some pickled turnips, and we used the pickling recipe from Joshua Weissman's cookbook. He's a big YouTuber who does food cooking stuff. Yeah, Joshua, keep doing that food cooking stuff. He's also from Austin, or somewhere around them Texas parts, which, you know, howdy, we're in the Dallas area. McKinney, Mactown represent. But yeah, pickled turnips. Aren't you proud of me?
Uh-huh.
All right, so drink. Cheers.
Cheers.
Roasted veg in there, salmon marinating. What else we've got? Anything else going on tonight?
Well, now we gotta figure out what we're doing for our pan sauce.
All right, we do have to do a pan sauce. So real quick, for today, we're not gonna do it on camera, but we will tell you that, guess what? Yesterday, when we made that 5-finger salad, we've got our lettuce here. And look, it's still nice and fresh. It's not all, you know, soggy and stuff like that because we decided to not put the dressing on it. And so now, today, off camera, after we're done with you guys, because we're going to be tired, we might make this into a salad. We might not, but we recommend it for you guys at home because now you know that 5-finger salad framework from yesterday. You can make whatever delicious salad that you want. So let's get a close up over here on these veggies. So how long has this been in there, Danielle?
Just under 15 minutes so far. So they're starting to get some color on them and soften. And so I'll probably check them after maybe like 10 minutes more.
So 15 in there so far?
Yep.
And another 10, and you're cooking at 420 degrees. And in case you're curious, we're in Texas. We're at basically 300 feet elevation. So if you're in, you know, Denver or someplace with super high elevation, these numbers will be different. And of course, the main thing to do is look at them, see are they starting to get some of that color. And at the end of the day, you can eat these things raw. 100% I'm sure on carrots. Can you eat parsnips raw as well?
I don't know.
Parsnips, I'm not sure, so you might do a quick Google or fact check that shared in the comments for us. But either way, they're going to be tasty.
Okay. So.
All right, so we got drinks, and now we're doing pan sauce. What do we need for the pan sauce?
Well, first we gotta cook the salmon. Then we get up the fond.
Yes, okay. So we're about to cook some salmon in a pan. And when we're making a pan sauce, one of the things that you want to do is you develop something called a fond, which is where basically the protein starts to brown and get all delicious, and some of that starts to stick to the pan. And so when you're making a pan sauce, basically you get to take all those delicious kind of burned, kind of brown, not burned, but kind of brown tasty bits, and then you dissolve them into a liquid, and maybe you add a couple of other ingredients to create a little bit of a sauce. And then you can add a thickener to it if you want to make it thicker, or maybe like it kind of runny, like an au jus or something like that. But once you learn kind of the framework of this, which again, we have a whole video on this in our course, Kickstart Your Kitchen. Go to kickstartyourkitchen.com to check that out, $69 giggity. And yeah, so today we're gonna make a pan sauce. We're using a non-stick pan. If you're making a pan sauce and you're like an intermediate or advanced home cook, I'd recommend using a stainless steel pan or maybe a carbon steel pan. You could also use a cast iron pan. But
I thought we were gonna use the cast iron pan. That was out there from the tortillas.
Oh, okay. So we'll grab the cast iron.
I thought we were using the cast iron.
Yeah, so I'll
that's
go ahead
what
and grab
we
the
do
cast
to get the fond.
Now, once you grab that, and the reason that we're doing the cast iron pan is because the non-stick, it sticks less. And when you're trying to develop a fond, you actually want a little bit of that sticking. And it will get a little brown, and that's okay because those flavors dissolve.
Well, now as I get out the cast iron, I'm like, do you want to do soy sauce and stuff in a cast iron?
Well,
or
you know what?
Because normally we do a pan sauce with like cream and stuff, but this is the first time with soy sauce, and that's more acidic, which I wonder if you should use in the cast iron.
Right, so what Danielle's talking about is with cast iron, you want to be careful about not doing things too acidic. We'll be okay with this because it's not that much and it's not that long. But if you're simmering, say, something with like a tomato sauce for like hours and hours and hours and hours, then that would be something you might need to be worried about. But fun fact, when you use cast iron, you actually do get a little tiny bit of dissolved iron in your food, which is actually good for you because you get the, what's it called, vitamins and minerals. Well, iron's one of the minerals you get.
That would have been really helpful when I was trying to give blood freshman year of college, and I'd been eating Chick-fil-A every day and not enough red meat. And I went to go give blood, and they're like, you don't have enough iron in your blood to give blood.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yep. All right, so we're going to get this pan heating up because one thing about cast iron is you do want to kind of get it going nice and hot. And I like to clear out space, things that we're not using. Had a spot of tea earlier. Did you put honey in the
Marinade?
marinade?
Mm-hmm.
You want to put anything else?
In the marinade?
No, in the sauce or anything?
Yeah. Honey, soy sauce, ginger, more garlic.
You want any of this other stuff?
No. Well, it's all pepper, yeah.
All right. So we got about 5 minutes left on our roast veggies. We've got this pan that's heating up. You sure you don't want to put any oil in it to cook with the salmon? Maybe just a little-
Butter.
Oh, butter. Yeah. Well,
Butter makes it better.
Danielle likes butter a lot. It's one of her main food groups. Besides bread and cheese, it's basically butter.
Bread, cheese, and butter. And roasted veggies. That's the best way to get me to eat veggies. Roast them.
Roast them indeed. So as that pan heats up, I'll tell you guys, of course, a couple of the other things that are within the cook your food section. So we've already talked about the mise en place, a little bit about timing. We haven't talked about one pot meals. We talked about that in the course. Knife basics we talked about yesterday, along with cutting. Flavoring your food, that's what we were talking about just now with the marinades. In the course, we also talked more about seasonings. We talked about the importance of salt, fat, acid, and heat. Shout out to Samin Nasrat, I'm probably messing up your last name, sorry, it's been a while since I've heard it, who has a cookbook and a Netflix documentary. So if you're into food at all, you should totally check it out. Talks about the importance of salt, fat, acid, and heat, and if not every meal, a lot of meals. And then we actually also talk about the course, all the different methods you can heat stuff up. So right now we're about to use a pan and we're gonna pan-sear something. We're also roasting something. There are other methods like boiling, steaming, braising, all these fancy words that you may not have heard of. We talk about what they all are and when you wanna use some versus others and things like that in the course as well. And the beautiful thing about this course is you buy it once and you have it for life. So you're like, Reed, I don't care about all those cooking methods. Well, okay, you don't need to watch those parts right now. You just watch the kinds that you want, the parts that help you do what you're trying to do today, and then you have them all for later because they're all in these digestible chunks of around 3-5 minutes each. So you can do it wherever you're at. You can do it on the crapper, you can do it while you're standing in line, you could do it while you're watching this, picture in picture if you want. So, I'll say it once, I'll say it again, and I'll say it again later. Go to kickstartyourkitchen.com to buy it. $69 for this learn how to cook to impress a date special. And of course, we're gonna give you guys all sorts of recommendations of which modules within the course we think would be valuable for you guys to check out first. So check it out. All right, time for the salmon?
I think so. The butter, well, it's almost melted.
All right, so we've now had the salmon marinating in the bag for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes or so. So like I said, if you can go a little bit longer, it'd help get those flavors a little more on it. But you need some tongs?
I was trying to think, what I want to flip these with.
Well, here, just put that over there.
Okay. Well, I think I'm just gonna dump it all in, and then it can cook in its own sauce too. Why not?
There you go. You. And so the thing about marinades is they actually can also be a really great start to a sauce or a glaze. And we talk about some specific ingredients that we recommend for marinades within the course. But even just from this one today, you know, there's already that soy in there. There's the garlic. There's the salt, the pepper. Or no, what else in the marinade? Help me out.
Soy, honey, garlic, salt, pepper.
Yes. And so another bonus of making a marinade is you can turn it into a sauce. The main thing that you need to be careful about is the food safety aspect of things. And so if you're cooking the sauce with the meat like this, with the protein, then you don't have to worry as much about it. But if, say, Danielle had cooked that salmon and then tried to add the marinade afterwards, well, she would then be contaminating it with raw fish. So as long as you're cooking it, you're okay. And of course, food safety is something we talk about more in the course because we don't want you guys throwing up. We don't want you guys having diarrhea. I had a fun story from a friend of mine who slept outside one time because he got so food sick, he just slept naked because he kept vomiting and having diarrhea. He had to sleep in a backyard. So yeah, that's what can happen if you're either unlucky like he was or if you're not careful when you're cooking your food. Well, how's it looking over there, Danielle? I know it tastes delicious. I mean, smells delicious over here.
I might need to turn it up a little bit.
So as she's cooking this salmon, basically what she wants to do is she wants to cook it through. And one of the downsides of using a marinade, especially something like that's kind of darker like this with soy, is it's hard to know how cooked this thing is. And so fortunately, that's why we strongly recommend the use of a food thermometer, which we keep right behind our knife block. So we always have it handy. If you're new to the kitchen and you don't use one very often, I highly recommend you keep it somewhere nice and visible so you always remember where to put it. But what you can do is you can insert that into the thickest piece of the fish or whatever protein you're cooking to see what the doneness is. Danielle's not going to do it right now because it's still cooking, but that way you don't have to worry about, oh, is this cooked enough? Is it safe for me? And then if you're cooking, and also you make sure you don't overcook it, you know, especially with something like, you know, beef, for example. You don't want to cook that steak well done unless that's really just the way you like it. And, you know, with steak, a lot of people agree it's done. When it's done less, it's done better. It's tasted better. But again, it's all up to your personal preference. So with the salmon, I don't remember off the top of my head, so I'll go Google, but I think it's like 135, 145 degrees Fahrenheit you're looking for.
Your guess is as good as mine.
125 to 130 degrees. That's for a medium cooked salmon. And then you want to make sure
it's already there.
that you insert into the thickest part of the salmon. And as you can see here, this actually ended up cooking a little faster than Danielle expected. So let me grab her a plate. And so another big tip is to have the plate handy. So again, if we had done a better practice of our mise en place here, we would have a plate out and ready to go, because one of the hardest things is knowing when things are done. And if you're like, oh, this is done right now, and then you got to go run all the way across the pantry to go get your plate, or across the kitchen to get your plate. Oh, that looks so good.
So you can see there's pin bones sticking out of this salmon, which is something you always want to check for whenever you're cooking salmon. There's these two little bones sticking out of it.
Watch out, watch out. Lincoln's always in the way. So we've got the salmon right here, and what Danielle's talking about is there are these pin bones here. I don't know if you can see them or not, but you can literally grab them. You can see I'm holding, it's dangling by it. And it's actually not a bone. I believe it's like some calcified cartilage or something like that. But basically, you don't want to eat that because it can get stuck in your throat. So, again, one of the things that we mildly skipped on this case, because generally when you buy it frozen, it's not that big of a deal. But in this case, we happen to see a couple. And if you see them, you just grab it with your fingers and kind of pull it out, because it can get caught in your throat. And, you know, it can go down safe too, but my dad had one time where he got one caught in his throat for like a day or two. And not the most fun thing. And another really good way to know if your salmon is good is to taste it. So let's go check back over on that sauce.
So I poured in the soy sauce while it was hot and steamy to deglaze the pan and start scraping up the little tasty bits that had come off of the salmon. And then I added some honey and some ginger paste.
So just make sure that came in loud and clear for you guys. So Danielle took the salmon pan that she was cooking, the cast iron pan. She added a little bit more soy sauce, a little bit of honey to add a little bit of sweetness to help cancel out the saltiness. Not cancel out, but balance. Now she's adding some pepper, some salt. Did you add ginger paste yet?
Yep.
Added some ginger paste. Now she's adding in another one of those pre-crushed or pre-minced cloves of garlic. And, you know, this ginger, garlic, what's the other one?
Soy?
The ginger, garlic, soy, that is a great combination of flavors. Anytime you're trying to make kind of an Asian-inspired thing, whether it's chicken, tofu, fish, you want to make a little sauce to put over your rice or something like that, getting those things involved is great. And it's not too far off from Indian. You get the ginger, and then you start to add in a bunch of spices and stuff like that. If you've not started to explore Asian cuisine, please do. Your taste buds are missing out. One of my favorite things about living in California was starting that exploration, and we're still exploring, and it's still amazing. So, what you got the heat on over there, Danielle, as you're making the sauce?
I turned it down a little from when I was trying to sear the fish, because it seemed like it got pretty hot. So it was like around 6 out of 10 or 9, and now it's like a 3.5.
Yeah, and in case you guys are curious what type of stove we're cooking on here, this is an induction stove. And within the course, we talk about all of the different types of stove and their pros and cons. We've got induction, we've got gas, we've got electric coils, and we tell you guys the pros and cons of those, especially important if especially if you're considering buying a house or redoing your kitchen. There's a lot of good info in there that may affect how you model your kitchen. All right, so now that you've got that on medium low, and so you're just kind of trying to reduce the sauce a little bit. Is that what you're working on?
Yes.
Yeah, so reduce is just a fancy way of saying, so you can see as she moves it around, see how liquidy it looks? She just wants it to be a little bit thicker, and so she's adding heat to help basically simmer out some of the liquid to make it a little bit thicker. And in the course, we also talk about some other ways you can do thickening. And there's what's called a cornstarch slurry, and you can also use a roux. And of course, we talk about that more in the course. And the bottom line too is if the thickness doesn't ever get to exactly what you want, that's okay. It still tastes good, and depends on how lazy you're feeling. But the cornstarch slurry and a roux are 2 easy ways you can help thicken things up. Let me give you your drink here, Danielle. Do we need to check in on the roasted stuff, or did you just turn it off?
I just turned off the timer. It's pretty much, I think it's going to be good whenever this is done, so.
Well, cool. So that's one technique that Danielle and I use often, especially with hearty things like roasted vegetables. You know, and especially when you have them at the size that Danielle has them there. Why don't you open up the oven real quick so we can see what they look like? Oh, yeah. But the nice thing about those is that it's hard to burn them. I'm not going to say you can't do it, but especially at this state right now, like they've got some browning on them, but they're not, you know, they're not going to catch fire. They're not going to get super, super overly crispy. So again, another benefit of starting with those is that you have a little bit more. Uh-oh. That was a weird sound. Sorry about that. You have a little bit more wiggle room, and it's okay to let them stay in a little bit longer. So one technique we'll do is that we will just leave them in there, and then if they're getting too close, sometimes we'll just turn the heat off and leave them in there.
Which I might go ahead and do.
And that's what Danielle's doing right now, because she's pretty happy with where they're at, but it's okay if they cook a little bit more. All right, so how's it looking? We getting close?
Yep, I mean that's just, we're just waiting on that to thicken so we can be done.
Well, cool. So before we get our plating going, I'll just bring up the last couple of things here that are within the Cook Your Food section of the course. So we talk about how to cook proteins. And so like today, we showed you how to cook salmon. We showed you the temperature. In the course, we also talk about the visual cues you can look for. Today it was a little harder because it was covered in a soy glaze. But if you're cooking salmon without the dark stuff on it, then you can see visually how it starts to change from pink. It starts to get a little bit whiter and things like that. It starts to get flaky. So you can use visual signs as well. Now, the thermometer is going to be the best source. I'll say it again. The probe thermometer is the best source. Even if you're...
That looks like intimidating when you're like, I'll say it again!
But seriously, this is something that we didn't do before we made this course, and the more research we did on it, we were like, okay, that is the best way to know. Color's not great. Texture is not perfect. All of those things are good to get you kind of close, but thermometers don't lie. So use the technology. So yeah, we talked about how to cook all the different types of proteins. Well, maybe not all of them, but a good chunk. We have, I think, like 5 to 10 videos just on eggs alone. So you can learn how to cook all of these things. And the nice thing is you can come back whenever you want because they're in those nice short digestible chunks. We also talked about veggies, various ways you can cook them, starches, like potatoes, pasta, rice, and quinoa, which if you've never had quinoa before, it's an ancient grain that has tons and tons of benefits, is really healthy and good for you. So use that as a rice replacement sometime. And then we have a whole section on sauces. Today we're talking a little bit about pan sauces. We have multiple sections in there on that, as well as other types of sauces. And some of them that are so easy, you just grab some condiments in your fridge and you mix them together, and then you get something delicious. Like, for example, homemade Chick-fil-A sauce. Let me tell you. And then the last couple of sections in there are improving the dining experience and cook with me. And the cook with me section, those are kind of like our thing that we're going to have tomorrow on day 5, where you can cook an entire meal from beginning to end. But in the course, we've shortened it down to like a 20-minute video, whereas tomorrow we're going to do it live with you guys so you can cook in real time with us. And then improving the dining experience, that's one of my favorite sections of the course because it talks about how the meal itself, the food itself, is just one part of the experience. How you plate it, what the ambiance is like, what smells are going on in the house, what music is going on, what else is, are there dirty clothes all over the place? Are you intentional about things like that? What do you do when people come into your house? How do you greet them? All of these types of things are a bunch of the tips that we teach you in the course. And of course, within the course and also today, please ask any questions you guys have. Put them in the chat. You can also contact us at our website, helpfulforlife.com. Hit the contact us button in the top right. And for the course, go to kickstartyourkitchen.com. You can buy it today for the discounted price of $69. So we've got our sauce reduced. Are we ready to get plated? let's do it. So, on this plate, we have our salmon. Which, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving this salmon. You know, it got broken into 3 pieces, which isn't quite as pretty. But that's okay. And I'll just kind of move some of this glaze that's on there to the middle. And if we weren't about to serve a whole bunch of other sauce on here, then you could take this tea towel and you could just take that towel and wipe that off to make it look nicer, have a nicer presentation. Because again, that presentation, those little differences, that's what can really be impressive, whether it's to just yourself, which, you know, we call this learn to cook to impress a date, but cooking for yourself is an amazing date to have. So I highly recommend it. Let me just grab this here. Ooh, yeah. So good. And today with our plating, we're being kind of meh with it. We're just kind of throwing some stuff on there. It's more rustic.
Done yet. You can do it on another plate even. You can move it from this plate to another one, or...
I wasn't trying to throw shade. We're getting the sauce, right?
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. You want me to carry it? You sauce it?
Sure. That's probably hot.
So another thing we talk about in the course is whether or not your counters are heat safe, whether you got granite or marble or whatnot. So that's a good thing to know before you put a pan on your plate, on your counter rather. So Danielle drizzles that sauce over it. That's looking pretty good. It's smelling really good, that's for sure. And then one thing you can do, this sauce isn't as thick as some of the other ones, but if it's a little bit thicker, you can basically take a little pool like that, and then you can drag your spoon through it. And then that's how you can get a cool little line on the plate. But you can see here, this sauce isn't that thick because, you know, it barely, when you split the waters like Moses, it falls back in pretty quick. And for today, that's what we were good with. Like, we didn't need some big fancy sauce, but we have a ton of flavor now that's in there. And a sauce, I think, is just a really good way to amp up a meal. A home-cooked meal that has a sauce, to me, feels so much fancier. And I think it looks nicer, too. Mm-hmm. And here, hold that, would you?
Yep. So did you end up picking the pin bones out?
Yeah, so I did pick the pin bones out.
Perfect.
And I think I recommended as well that, you know, if you want to do that before you cook, you can. But you can also just be like, hey, guys, I didn't check for pin bones, so as you're eating, be careful. And that's okay, too. But yeah, so you get the sauce just kind of all over the plate. Delicious. You get that salmon. You got those roast veggies. And then the other thing that we would probably do to round out this meal would add that salad that we had from yesterday. But like I said, we're good for now because we're tired and we're hungry. And sometimes that's what you need to do. So the fourth milestone of the course is called clean up and storage. And today, since I was doing a whole bunch of talking, it was hard for me to do a little bit more of the cleanup. But normally what would go on is, as Danielle, and this is a nice thing about cooking with a date, is someone can be kind of the cook, someone can be kind of the cleaner. You can trade off, you know, you can do both. But that's a really nice agreement for us in our marriage, is that Danielle, she actually does a little bit more of the cooking on an average week than I do. And we both
little bit more.
We both really enjoy cooking, but during the work week, Danielle does it more often. And therefore, I clean more of the dishes, and that's what's kind of worked out for us. But yeah, I mean, just take a look at that. Like, get a nice close-up of this meal. And again, picture a salad on there too, that 5-finger salad you have from yesterday. And Danielle's going to give it a taste. Let me try a bite. I'm going to get a little bit bigger piece of salmon than you. Oh yeah, look how it just like flakes out nice. Get a little bit of that sauce.
A lot of flavor.
So much flavor in there.
I think I would add maybe more honey. To
Yeah.
like it seems like it's a little on this like salty soy saucy side. So I'd probably add some more honey and maybe something else.
I like the heat. But see, this is the thing. This is the thing about cooking is that, and we do this all the time, is that this is good.
We'll eat it.
But now that we've been cooking so much, we can be like, oh, if I dialed this in a little bit better, it could be that much better. And between me and Danielle and some of our friends and family, now that they're all really into cooking too, and some of them were into it way before us too, because we're just young whippersnappers, let's be real. But we talk about food as we're eating it at the restaurant, we're in each other's houses, we're like, man, this is really good. Oh, I can taste the cayenne in that. Oh, the garlic. Oh, that's nice. And so as you start to do this more, you start to realize the things that you do like more and you like less. And like for today, it's like, it's a little bit saltier. So next time, we probably would have a little less soy sauce or add a little more honey to balance it out. And also, you can tweak it now. Like if it's still really salty and you're like, well, that's way too much. Well, just drizzle a little extra honey right on top. Why not?
I like parsnips.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that I've tried one before.
Let me get one by itself. Parsnip, actually 2 of them.
I think I've had maybe like a parsnip chip, like in one of those like mixed veggie chips bags. I feel like one of those is probably parsnips, because it doesn't taste totally unfamiliar. It is very similar to a carrot.
And the thing is that we've never really cooked parsnips before. If we have, we've forgotten. But we're confident that we could do it because we know it's similar to a carrot. Danielle saw it in the store. She's like, why not? We'll try it out. And another thing we're going to plug, not sponsored yet, we'll call you guys too, Imperfect Foods. So if you guys haven't heard of them before, you should check them out. Basically, all of the produce that goes into grocery stores has to meet a certain standard. And anything that doesn't meet that standard oftentimes gets thrown away. And so companies like Imperfect Foods buy that produce and then they sell it, they give it to restaurants, things like that, so it gets to use. And so you can sign up for Imperfect Foods. Eventually we'll have a code so you can give us money, Imperfect Foods, heard it first. But what you do is it sends you a box every month, every 2 weeks or whatever the frequency is. You can set your frequency. And then they send you, it's like, oh, well, this is a little shaped weird or maybe a little bruised, but guess what? It's still good. And maybe now and then you have a piece that you're like, oh, I got to cut off that part, but it's okay. And guess what? We talk more about that in our course about what that grading standard is and what makes it better or worse. And that can help you feel more at ease when you're buying your produce. So when it comes to cleaning up, maybe we'll get another couple tips in there tomorrow. But the main things that we talk about in the course are based on what type of countertops you have, what type of floors you have. We tell you the best ways to clean it, the best things you can do, you can't do. We talk about natural ways you can clean it. We also talk about chemical ways. If you're like, I really care about all the natural, or you don't, you do you. We tell you the best way for both. And other than that, we tell you about dishwashing, which, if you've ever loaded a dishwasher before or had someone who's a little bit type A about it, there's a certain way to do it. Well, we have all sorts of tips on that and a lot more. So any other last notes for anyone here today, Danielle?
No.
Well, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We really hope that this week helps you guys get started on your cooking journey. And if you want to go one step deeper, you can go to kickstartyourkitchen.com and get the course for that special price of $69. Some people may be like, oh, wow, he's really pushing the course. Well, yeah, because I actually think this is going to change your life. And I know that it's very solid material in there. We made sure to do a bunch of research. It's science-backed. We're working with a nutritionist right now to revamp and even make our nutrition information even better. And we're going to have a cohort to learn to change your relationship with food, because we know that's a big thing for a lot of you guys out there. So with that, everyone, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.